Hello and welcome to The Cosmic Nomad. I'm your host, Bailey Rushlow, and this is a space for the curious and the heart-led, where we explore the human experience through travel, nature, spirituality, and real-life transformation through beautiful conversations. As I discover my way of living what I call an inspired life, I share the practices, stories, and perspectives that have helped guide me back to myself. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to today's episode. So glad that you're here to join me in this deep dive into what it means to be an empath in today's world. If you have ever felt overstimulated, overwhelmed, or like you are carrying emotions that aren't yours, you're not alone. I've been walking the empath journey since beginning my time on this planet. And so many of us are waking up to the reality that we're empaths. We are deeply sensitive, intuitive beings who pick up on everything happening around us. And in this episode, I want to share why life feels this way for highly sensitive people in the modern world, how we can work with our nervous systems instead of against them. And as always, I want to share practices that have helped me, from traveling the world with my backpack to navigating everyday life at home. And just, reminder that this is not about fixing yourself or becoming less sensitive, but learning how to thrive as you are in your body, in your mind, with your emotions, with your sensitivity, in a world that asks you often to numb out, and that sensitivity is not a weakness, but in fact, a superpower. So, hi and hello from Germany. I hope that today finds you smiling, and if not, I hope this episode brings a smile to your face. I'm sitting here in a beautiful room in my partner's family's home. I have roses next to me. The sun is starting to go down. I've got a hot cup of tea, an orange, some chocolate, and my water. So I'm fully set for today's episode, just to give you a visual of what's happening behind the scenes here. I had a really wonderful day so far, waking up and packing a picnic breakfast with Philip, and we went up the hill overlooking the valley and laid out a picnic blanket and had a really lovely breakfast and read aloud one of my favorite books to each other. And it started to rain, so we came back home and started this TV show called Behind Her Eyes, which I've seen before, and it blew my mind. It was such an interesting show. It's only like 6 episodes, but yeah, it has so many twists and turns. You just don't understand the show until like the last episode. Things start to make sense. So it's a journey, but it's all about lucid dreaming, and it's very interesting. So I'm very curious how Philip will like it. And then I recorded last week's podcast episode this morning. And then I went out for a nature walk and foraged for my favorite plants and herbs that are perfect for foraging right now. Yarrow, hawthorn berries, elderberries, wild apples, nettle seeds. I had a great time. I came back with my pockets literally bursting with nature. Now I'm laying them all out to dry and starting in on episode 2 of the day, which is happening right now. So thank you for joining me through my day. It's a pleasure to be here, as always, an honor to share with you. Thank you for sharing this space with me and for listening. I don't have all the answers. I'm the first one to tell you that in life. I am forever a student. And in that journey, there are also things that I'm so grateful to have learned, to have figured out how to do differently for myself, that have really changed how I interact with the world, with my own sensitivity levels, which have always been pretty high, I would say. And then how I can, share them with other people to potentially and hopefully affect you in a positive way. Even if there's one thing that you hear me say on this episode that you can take with you that will inspire you and alter something in your life, then I would consider this a successful episode. So, that being said, let's dive into what empaths are, how we operate, why we feel the way we do. Because sometimes, literally growing up, I did not even know what an empath was. It just wasn't really a common conversation for people. It's become more of a buzzword as time has gone on and research has developed and conversations around mental health and overwhelm and emotional wellness and well-being have come to the surface more, which I'm so grateful for. But I remember thinking and feeling growing up like I feel like I'm a species from another planet living on Earth. I feel like other people don't see the world the same way that I do. Like, I feel like I'm just weird. And I don't know if you've ever felt that way, but if you're listening right now, there is a high chance that you have also felt this way. Or maybe you know someone that does. Maybe your child or your partner or your friend or your parent feels this way about life. And hopefully this will be able to give you a little bit more insight, maybe into how they experience the world. So why does life feel so overwhelming sometimes for empaths? Our nervous systems are wired to sense things, and it's a gift. It really is. But in today's world, there is constant input from screens and notifications and traffic and crowds and lights and news and other people's emotions and even subtle shifts in environment and body language and tone. And most people are so disconnected from themselves that they just push through it on autopilot. But empaths feel it all. And if we don't know how to regulate or release or even be able to explain to ourselves what we're feeling, like develop this sense of awareness, it really builds up. And it feels like you have too many tabs open in the browser of your brain until you just crash. So what we need isn't to shut down our sensitivity, but to learn practices that help us actually discharge energy and ground us back into ourselves to create a new pattern. And a few years ago, I came across this term HSP, which stands for highly sensitive person. And when I read the descriptions, oh my God, I felt so seen. I was like, wait, there are other people who experience the world the way that I do. I'm not the only one. This term comes from Dr. Elaine Aron's research in the 90s, and it describes about 15 to 20% of the population whose nervous systems are wired to pick up on subtlety. So if you are an HSP, or a highly sensitive person, you are naturally more attuned to details, to emotional shifts, to beauty, and to nuance, and often overstimulated by noise and crowds and input, and it's not a disorder. It is not something to fix. It is literally just a trait. It is a way of being. And for me, learning about this felt like someone handed me a map to my own nervous system. I actually felt the same way when I started to hear conversations around neurodivergence. I never understood before that neurodivergence is a full spectrum of different colors, if you will, and people can ebb and flow in so many different ways on the spectrum. For some, it looks like ADHD or autism or learning differences or sensitivities, but it's different for everyone. And I know that for some on the spectrum, it feels like life is just impossible. And I don't want to sugarcoat that by just being like, oh, it's a sensitivity and it's great, because I understand from personal experience with people that I've known that it is not just a walk in the park. It can be incredibly difficult and very, very challenging. But I think a huge part of why is because we don't live in a world that accommodates divergence. When society decided that efficiency and conformity mattered more than connection and creativity, the idea of divergence, the idea of people who operated differently in the world became something wrong. And I want to talk about this for a second, actually, before moving on, because industrialism and capitalism had a huge part to play in this. Once society shifted into factories and 9-to-5 work models and schools, the goal became efficiency and predictability, and people who thought differently or had unique sensitivities or moved more slowly did not fit the machine, and they were labeled as defective or lazy. And then you have the whole other branch of the tree of colonization and cultural erasure, where many indigenous and ancient cultures actually honored neurodiverse traits and saw people as visionaries and seers, storytellers, sensory sensitive healers. But colonization suppressed those roles, which basically pushed everyone into a single worldview where only linear, productive, quote, productive ways of thinking were valued. And then next branch you have is medicine and psychology. In the 19th and 20th century started naming divergence as illness. Literally, instead of saying, oh, you learn differently, or your nervous system is more sensitive, they started to say you have a disorder. So language shifted from diversity to defect. And schools and workplaces reward people who follow directions and sit still and produce measurable results. And anyone who can't or doesn't fit into that mold becomes a problem to fix. So I don't believe that divergence was ever wrong or less human. I think it was too human, too nuanced, too free, too, quote, unreliable for systems that rely on uniformity. So reclaiming neurodivergence is almost like this radical act of remembering that humans were meant to be different. We were meant to see the world in different ways through sensing and creating and processing. In our original ways of living, in our ancestral and indigenous traditions, our differences were celebrated as medicine for the community. And it makes me so sad that we've come so far as to label everything and everyone defective, when really we have the most powerful sensitivities on the planet. And I think by understanding our sensitivity and how to hold it with respect and honor and love and not judgment and not disdain, we literally are in the process of reclamation and in the process of the ultimate self-love and self-healing. So I share these words because this understanding has made a world of difference to me. And I hope that by listening to the next, half hour, something in here will change your perspective, maybe about yourself or about someone that you know, like I said, because I'm sure we all have someone in our lives, if not ourselves, that feel our way through the world in different ways. And there are some incredible tools and practices that we can implement that will truly make a difference in the way we interact with our lives. We might not be able to change the intensity of the world and of the things that we experience, but we can change and direct how we interact with the world. And that's some of what I want to go into with some practices to share. So, these have served me so well from traveling the world to moving to new countries to even just leaving the house sometimes and, going about my day. And they all apply. So no matter what you're doing or where you're going in life, I hope that all of these will apply to you in some form or fashion. So the first practice is trusting your instincts, which I know is easier said than done, trust me, especially if you've been told that you are too sensitive, or if you grew up in systems like high demand religion that taught you to override your body. So how do you know if it's your intuition or if it's fear? That little voice in your head, like, what is it? Is it my OCD? Is it my intuition? Is it religious programming? Is it God? What are we doing? But the simplest way that I've learned to identify intuition is that it's calm, it's steady. It's like a quiet whisper in your gut that says this way. And fear is like loud and anxious and urgent, and it wants you to decide right now. Intuition also feels expansive, even if it's scary. Like it might stretch you a little bit, but it's opening something inside your soul. Fear feels very constrictive, like it shrinks you down and like closes you off a bit. So if you're not sure in the moment, just pause and check in with your body. And you can ask, do I feel a little more open or more like constricted when I imagine this choice? And the body always knows, even before the mind catches up to it. So there's been times when I've been sitting with, a decision like, should I book this flight, or should I go to this event, or should I say yes to this thing, or should I say no? And it always makes a huge difference to pause, don't rush, check in with my body. Like literally, I was sitting with my friend in New York, and we only had a few more hours to spend together. And I remember her asking me, she was like, oh, I know what we could do with the next few hours. We could go here, 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 and here. We could do all these things and it would be great. And then you'll still make your train on time. And I was like, yeah, we should do that. Thinking like, sure, because I really did want to spend this time with her and make this memory. And she looked at me because she's neurodivergent and she's a highly sensitive person too. And she goes, Bailey, before you answer, just take a second and think about it. And I was like, no, I want to go. Let's do it. And she goes, no, take a second. And I was like, okay. And I sat there on the bench with her. I closed my eyes, took a second. And I thought, do I want to go do this right now? Do I have the energy to go and do all of this? Because I still had a whole lot more to do in my day. And I knew it was going to take a lot of energy in me to do all this stuff with her. And I felt into it. And I felt like my body said no. And I verbalized that. I said, actually, I think we should make a different plan. Maybe just hang around here and do something a little more chill. And she goes, perfect. No worries at all. That was why I wanted you to check in with yourself. And I was like, wow, okay. My gut response was, I need to keep my friend happy. I need to go do this thing. And also, I want to make this memory with her. But my intuition, when I gave it a second to listen, I felt like, no, actually, I don't need to go running around town doing all this stuff right now. And I'm so grateful to have a considerate and kind and empathetic friend that could reflect that question back to me and ask me to check in, and was not going to gaslight me or have an issue with whatever my response would be. Because I was a little bit worried, if I say, oh no, I don't want to do that, is she going to be mad? Is she going to be upset? Because that's what our programming does, because so often in life we've been proven right on that, right? How many times have you stood up for yourself or your intuition and it's someone else's response has made you feel guilty for that, right? But then we remember that we are only responsible for our own choices, not for other people's reactions. I'm just going to say that one more time. What did I say? Okay. We are not responsible for other people's reactions, only for our own choices. And that is really, really hard as an empath, but very important. And the pinnacle of you building these practices and these foundations in yourself to support your sensitivity is to remember to follow your instinct. I remember the first time that I was on the beach with my current partner, Philip. We were sitting together talking, and he said something kind of like, we should go back to your place, And I was like, do I want him to come back to my place? He had never been back to my place before, and I kind of knew what that meant, I was like, okay, if he comes back to my place, it's probably going to lead somewhere. Do I want that? And I paused, and I looked out over the ocean, and I just had a whole ass minute to myself. And he looked at me and was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you're looking at the sky. Like, does the sky have the answer? And I was like, yes, it does. And I thought to myself and felt into what I felt. Do I actually want to bring this person back with me? Do I not? Because either way is completely fine. And I felt that I wanted to have him actually back to my house. And so I said, yeah, actually, let's do that. I would like that. I loved that because my choice was my own and it felt right in the moment to me. And looking back, I'm so glad that I listened to myself because it laid the foundation for my intuition to be something that I follow no matter what in the course of our relationship. And there was a moment of about a month ago where Philip and I were together in wild camping up in the Highlands of Scotland, and we were looking for a place to park, and we found a place that was like 80% okay. Like when you're wild camping, you've got to find places to park that are legal, not just on the side of someone's land. You've got to find like open land, open space that's common ground, whatever. And I remember we found this place that was a little bit marshy. Like it was open, we could have parked there, but it felt like if it rained, we could be submerged. And I remember my intuition said, no, I don't like this. We don't need to be here. But we had been looking for a spot already for like an hour. We were tired. We were hungry. We just needed to find somewhere to sleep. And I thought, I don't want to say anything. And we're going to have to pack up. We're going to have to find somewhere else. But my intuition knew. And I said, I don't think this is a good space. And Philip was like, are you sure? And I said, yep, my intuition says no. And he goes, okay, I trust you. And we packed up. And I said, for real? Like you just trusted me like that right off the bat? And he said, Bailey, your intuition has never been wrong. And I literally teared up. It makes me want to cry even thinking about it because I felt so trusted by him. Like he trusted my intuition. And that made me trust it even more. Surrounding yourself with people that are connected to their intuition and also trust yours is a game changer and feels so good. So please seek that out in friends and build it in yourself first, and you will also magnetize it to you in other relationships because that is just everything. All right, let's move on to the next one. As empaths, we cannot always control the environments that we're in, whether that is a busy city, a loud house, a workplace, co-working, coffee shop, airport. It is just a lot, right? And what we can do is create little pockets of safety that help our nervous system exhale. So when I'm traveling, for example, or literally not even when I'm traveling, when I leave the house, I always have a little tote bag with me. I always have a full water bottle, headphones, sometimes even 2 sets of headphones because I like the wired headphones when I'm talking on the phone to people. I like the over-ear big headphones that have noise canceling when I am in public transportation or grocery stores because they help my hearing sensitivity because I literally hear everything. I have very highly developed senses, as most empaths, neurodivergents, and HSPs do. And so I really, really like to have big headphones on. And sometimes I'm not even listening to anything, I just have my ears protected. These are tools, they are not just items for convenience or for style or fashion. In my bag, I always have snacks. I always have something fresh, maybe a few oranges, an apple, a little bit of chocolate, a healthy kind of granola bar, something that's going to feel grounding, but also nourishing. I also love to have maybe a journal or a little book. I also love to crochet. So very often, most of the time actually, you will find a crochet hook and a ball of yarn in my bag because I hate being places like being on a bus or a train or sitting somewhere not being able to do something with my hands. It's just something that's always been important to me. Even when I was a kid, I would have markers and a sketchbook or something with me. And it's not about just having the quote right tools, but it's about having your tools. So what are the things that make you feel at home inside yourself? And then you go create a mini sanctuary. And this could be as simple as sitting in the park. Put your back against a tree, putting on your noise canceling headphones, listening to a song that reminds you who you are. I have a playlist actually on Spotify that I will link down below that I built just for this, where I just turn on that playlist and I feel so connected and grounded, and it's low stimulation, it's quiet. When you're at home, a mini sanctuary might look like the corner of your room that feels sacred. Or lighting a candle on your desk, or taking a hot shower in the dark, cooking a warm meal that feels grounding to your nervous system. These are just little anchors that remind your body, I'm safe. I don't have to take in everything around me. I have a center, And cannabis has actually been a huge grounding tool for me in my life. And it is not for everyone. I'm not recommending it to everyone. But for me and for some people, with the right strain, the right intention, the right set and setting, cannabis can be incredibly helpful for calming the sensory overwhelm and overload that we get from our environment by calming the areas of the brain that are typically overthinking, and allows me to focus on the tasks at hand, whether that is creating music or creating art or going grocery shopping or sitting in the park. It brings me grounded back down into my body. And I'm really grateful for that tool. I realize it's not accessible to everyone, and it's not something, again, that I would recommend to all people because everyone responds differently. But if you have a relationship with cannabis in the same way that I do, you know what I mean. And I don't even have to explain it to you because you just get it. But yeah, that's been a really powerful tool where when people say, oh, getting high, literally getting high feels like you are elevated just enough above the sensory overwhelm to where you can go about your tasks, go about whatever you need to do, or maybe that even means dropping into deep rest in your body, dropping into deep thoughtfulness, or tapping into a place in your heart that needs to be excavated a little bit, maybe with a journaling practice or dance or movement in your kitchen or cooking yourself a really great meal. Sometimes I've been so overwhelmed, I literally don't even know how to support myself. I'm like, I know I need to eat, but I don't know what to eat. I know I need to shower, but I'm doom scrolling in on my couch. I know I need to take care of things and create stuff, and I've got deadlines and shit to do, and I'm like, literally, I feel like I can't even function. And I will just have one little hit of weed, and I just take some deep breaths, and I feel like myself. I feel like, oh, I know exactly what to do. I open the fridge. I'm making a whole nourishing meal for myself. I'm taking a shower while my food is cooking. I'm feeding my cat. I'm working on my emails after dinner. Everything feels relaxed and regulated. And of course, this really depends on the strain. I prefer a little bit of a sativa hybrid. So, indica is really balancing to the lower chakras of the body, and sativa is for the higher chakras and the mind and the thoughts and the brain and the heart and the voice. So having a balance of both in your strain is really important to me personally. If it's nighttime and I'm trying to rest and wind down, definitely indica. Sativa will activate my mind too much, but learning those little ways in which we can interact with plants, not only cannabis, there are so many plants that are incredible for supporting nervous system regulation. And working with an herbalist that can support you in that is highly recommended. I have several. If you are interested, please reach out to me and I will recommend them to you. They are close, trusted, and incredible friends that are very well versed in also neurodivergence and working with empaths and highly sensitive people. So please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Send me an email that's linked down below. Speaking of medicine, there is no medicine like earth medicine. When everything feels too loud, too overwhelming, too busy, literally the fastest way back into balance is to step outside and touch the ground. Take off your shoes. Feel your bare feet in the grass, the soil, the sand. Lean your back against a tree. Let it hold you. Breathe in the rhythm of a stream and just listen. And these moments sound poetic, but they're also psychological. Like science literally shows us that grounding actually restores your body's electrical charge, which reduces inflammation, which is the root of all disease, which also calms the nervous system. Like the earth is literally built to reset us, which is why we call her mother, our mother planet, our mother earth, right? She is our original home. We come from her. When we die, we go back to her. So when we are grounding and being a part of her, it is like coming home. And when I travel, I make it a ritual to find pockets of green space, whether that is pine forests or lakes or waterfalls or even just a patch of grass in a city park. When I'm home in my house, I have a lot of plants that are part of my grounding practice, like tending to them, watering them, even brushing my hands through their leaves connects you back to that same frequency. That's why before recording this episode, I literally went outside for a foraging break because I knew just being outside, breathing the fresh air, connecting to plants, foraging for their medicine, thanking them with by talking to them or singing to them. It's really poetic, but it's also really powerful because nature doesn't ask us to be anything other than what we are. It doesn't overwhelm. It like harmonizes us, and when we return to her, our internal systems remember their original rhythm and state of being. There are so many earth stories that I could tell, but I'm going to move on to the next one, which is boundaries. I know that for empaths, this word can feel really heavy because we sometimes believe that if we set a boundary, it is to push people away or to build a wall. But boundaries are not walls. They are filters. And when we reframe them in this way, we remember that they let love and nourishment in and they keep out what drains us. So on an energetic level, this can be done as simply as visualizing yourself surrounded in a bubble of light or like a cloak of protection, like an invisible Harry Potter cloak, right? Or setting the intention before you leave the house. I only absorb what is for my highest good or in my highest timeline. I only absorb light that is here to benefit me. Most days before I leave the house, I actually visualize like this kind of bubble around me, like a golden bubble. Maybe it has like mirror glass on it. Like anything coming at me is just reflected back out. Boundaries also, they don't have to be harsh. They can be kind and also clear. And it's about honesty, not rejection. When you practice phrases like the ones I'm about to tell you, you realize that most people will respect them. And the ones who don't make you realize that your compass, your internal intuition was telling you that this boundary was needed even more. So here are some soft and loving, but don't burn the bridge boundaries that preserve your energy. It might look like, I really appreciate the invite, but I actually need some rest tonight. That is a complete sentence. You do not have to explain further. That is your boundary. Another one might be, I want to give you my full attention, but I don't have the energy right now. Can we talk about this later? Completely fine. If the other person comes back with, well, I thought that you wanted to blah, blah, blah. No. I want to give you my full attention, but I don't have the energy right now. You can just literally reiterate it and walk away, or send it again through a text. You could say something like, I'm going to step outside for a few minutes and recharge. You could say something like, man, that doesn't feel very aligned for me right now, actually. So I think I'm going to say no, but I appreciate the invitation. Simple. I would love to join you in that, but only for a couple of hours. I think that's my limit. I have said that one so many times. Because sometimes I do want to say yes to things, but I worry that if I say yes to one thing, it's going to lead to a whole day of things. And I know that I don't have the energy for that. I know that I don't have the capacity. And I think it's really important that we feel safe to voice these things. Another favorite of mine is, thank you for understanding that I needed some alone time. It helps me come back and be more present and more aware and a better friend. And someone who is really on your team and on your side and understands you is going to totally be okay with that. They're not going to have an issue with the fact that you need some time or that you are voicing a boundary. And sometimes it's easy for us to feel like, oh, but if I do that, I'm letting them down. No. There are times, of course, where this is disappointing, especially if it is at the last minute and you are really let down by someone, and there's a time and a place for voicing that this has let me down. But more times than not, it's actually for our good. It's actually for our benefit that things don't work out. Because how often has that happened to you? Come on, be for real. Where someone has canceled a plan or something and you've gone, okay, actually, this gives me the chance to just be home and do my thing. Or a whole new timeline opened up and I actually invited a different friend to do this thing with me and it turned out amazing, right? It's like that has happened to me more times than not. So leave room for the universe to surprise you. All right, we are getting close to the end here. I hope that you are taking mental notes because we're really not gatekeeping anything here. So as empaths, we pick up so much throughout the day energetically. Other people's moods, subtle shifts in the environment, astrological energy, even our collective energy of what the world is going through. And if we do not give ourselves space to let it move through, it piles up and it starts to feel like our own thing. And this is where solitude comes in. Not isolation necessarily, not disappearing forever, but intentional moments to be with yourself. For me, it looks like stretching on the floor or making tea slowly, mindfully, foraging for herbs, journaling in the morning, my thoughts, my feelings. Sometimes it's like playing, music in my living room and moving my body slowly until something feels like it releases. And the key to this is expression. Energy wants to move. Energy in motion is emotion, right? E equals MC squared that was what this whole was about. Energy wants to move. So how do we let our emotions flow? They maybe it needs to come out on a page of paper, or through tears, through dance, through breath, through swimming in the ocean, through screaming into a pillow. Like, doesn't matter how, but it needs to leave the body. Because when it stays inside, it literally becomes inflammation within us. It becomes heavy. It becomes matter that is physically damaging to our bodies. When we hold on to things, it creates a stagnant environment for our nervous system. Have you ever seen like a pond that just doesn't have any flow, and it becomes like mucky and gross and thick and stagnant and muddy? That's the same feeling in our body with our nervous system, with our lymphatic system. Our literal physical body suffers when things don't get to move or flow. And not only movement, but also solitude, being in our own energy. I spend like the majority of my time alone. I love being with people. I love being with my partner, but also I love being in my own energy. I love being in my own space because it's my nervous system's way of saying, thank you. I can breathe again. I have reset myself. You feel so good after having some time alone, taking a hot shower, making a nourishing meal, coming out of the forest or the wherever it is that makes you feel reset, going on a long drive, I don't know, whatever it is. And then you enter some, other people's energy again, and you feel like, okay, I'm all right. Because it is so easy to slip into loops of overstimulation, overthinking, absorbing too much, and then we spiral in it. And the nervous system loves patterns, even when they're bad for us. But the good thing is you can always break them. I have a whole episode about interrupting the pattern, and you can listen to that after this. Pattern interrupt is anything that jolts you out of autopilot and reminds your body, we are not stuck. We are free to choose. Sometimes it is a small thing, like taking a different route home, moving to a different spot in the room or in your house, like changing the music instantly switches the vibe. Going outside, getting fresh air, putting cold water on your face. Those are small things, right? Maybe something more playful or fun could be saying yes to something you don't normally say yes to, or no to something you'd usually say yes to, or changing up your morning routine completely one day, or going to a place, a city, a coffee shop, somewhere you don't normally find yourself in. It's these little shifts that tell your nervous system, we don't have to stay in the same groove. It is outside the sandbox. It is like breaking the code of the matrix. It is making one small pattern shift that drops you into a new timeline. Oftentimes, the fastest interrupt is the simplest one, like stand up, stretch, laugh, sing something, do something that breaks the spell. This is really important to remember when we get stuck doom scrolling on our phone. You do not have to be stuck. You do not have to continue scrolling and spiraling and feeling shit about yourself and your life. Because every time we do this, we are just following the same neural pathway that we have been creating time and time again, hour and hour again, reel after reel, training your nervous system that this is what we do when we're overwhelmed. Stop. You are not trapped. You are alive. You have choices. Maybe there's something, some action or something that you can do that will jolt you out of the scrolling, that will jolt you out of the doom thinking. Maybe it's thinking of something that you love, like your cat. And please do not shower yourself with guilt and shame for doing that either. It's okay that you did. It's okay that you do. It's okay that it's a pattern. It's okay that it's a habit, but it can be changed. And that's the exciting part. There's literally, you don't have to shame yourself for it. It's completely fine. You're human. You're allowed to do what you want. And you're allowed to make different choices. So why not? The last thing, final thing. And I know that these words sound cliche, like little slogans that make you feel good. But I said this in the last one. I said this in the last episode too. Gratitude is a wormhole. When you pause and you feel grateful, like truly grateful for your breath, for the light coming through the window, for the roses on the table, for the steam rising out of your tea, for the clothes on your body shifts. Your chemistry actually changes. Your nervous system flips from survival into safety. And joy is literally how we recharge. It doesn't have to be some big flashy thing. Like it could literally just be laughing with a friend or sitting in the sun for a few minutes. And gratitude and joy do not erase the heaviness of the world, but they give you a break from carrying all of it. And they remind you that beauty exists, that you are alive, that your sensitivity is a gift because it lets you feel that beauty more deeply than most people. You might feel sadness deeper than most, but you can also feel joy deeper. And when we let that gratitude and joy fuel us, our empathy stops being draining and it starts feeling expansive and it becomes the superpower that it was always meant to be. So let's just take a deep breath here because I realize we just covered a lot of things. So deep breath with me, in and out slowly. Okay, here we go. You're not broken for being sensitive. You're not broken for being neurodivergent. You're not broken for being an empath. The world needs your kindness more than ever. It needs your sensitivity and your ability to feel and process emotions and alchemize the pain in this world too. It's very important. And we're very grateful for you. And don't forget to take care of yourself. You are your longest relationship. These tools that I've mentioned here, I hope, will help you carry that awareness into the future of you, into the future of understanding your sensitivity deeper, in the future of understanding empathy as the superpower, because the world is lacking in it. And when more people realize it, realize their empathetic traits and qualities and the beauty of the kaleidoscope of the neurodivergent ways, we will stop being so harmful to each other. We will start creating new neural pathways in our collective way of being, in our collective consciousness, in our collective thought process, and start making different choices, because every time you do, there is like a ripple effect out from you that impacts whoever is in your field, family, pets, friends, strangers. Every time you are just being yourself fully and taking care of your sensitivity and of your needs, it's noticed. People notice. You know, when you're in a park and you see that person sitting with their back to a tree and they're drawing or journaling, or you see someone just enjoying the stillness, the quiet of the beach or the park, it impacts you. You notice them. You notice someone off their phone. You notice someone just reading a book. You notice someone just laughing and smiling with their friends. The joy makes you smile. Their joy impacts you. Your joy impacts others in the same capacity. Don't underestimate your joy, your gratitude, your sensitivity, the ability to change the world in this powerful way. So thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me. If you're interested in learning more about my life, behind the scenes stuff, I'm actually releasing monthly guided meditations for the price of a cup of coffee, because I want it to be accessible and affordable to everyone, on my Patreon. You can find the link down below in the show notes. There are monthly gratitude lists, audio notes and messages. There are voice notes from me. There's a whole world there that I would love for you to come and explore and experience. And if you've been learning anything from this podcast, this is all free. This is just my way of giving back to the world from all the people and places that I've learned from. But yeah, if you want to be a part of it in supporting my art and my work, I would really appreciate it, and I would welcome you with open arms into the Patreon family. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Please take care of your sensitive soul today, and thank you for listening. And as always, open heart, open mind, stay curious.